Hey guys, it's Holly. So this week I feel like I've talked a lot about storage and organization and things like that, and today is no different because when I went into Kmart yesterday, I was having a look around the Lego section and I really had my eye on getting another Hogwarts Express, honestly, but then I looked a little harder and into the kind of off-brand, knockoff, non-Lego section. I was having a look at Kmart's minifigure displays, as I know they did like a tiered one and I have seen that before, and I'm honestly been kind of tempted to get it recently, and that's purely because I have so many figures that are just sitting in buckets and I don't have the time to sit down and like continue making my frames at the moment. I'm pretty sure I've got all of the pieces, I just need the card, and I really wanted just a temporary solution, and I came across this one, which reminds me so much of those like Lego ones with the studs on the top that you can kind of stack on top of each other. I think probably not actually, but nevertheless that's what this reminded me of, and I thought for $20 I really can't go wrong. It's worth a try. I'll see how it turns out, and at the end of the day I can always return it if it doesn't work out. So yesterday I sat down and I opened up and kind of sorted through all of my minifigures, and my initial plan, because honestly I thought I was going to get a lot more in this than I actually did, or kind of underestimated how many figures I actually had to put in here. So my initial plan was to put all of my superhero ones in here and all of my additional Star Wars and maybe my Fantastic Beasts and the Simpsons and things like that, but I realized I could fill the entire top 2 rows with just Star Wars, and there was still some left over that I couldn't put in there. For example, I had more battle droids and more 501st Troopers, for example. As you can see, there's only 2 in here, and I could have filled this up a lot more, but I wanted to have some variation, so I put a few of my DC figures at the bottom, but that is not nearly all of them. So kind of my initial reactions with this thing is, firstly, this glass is very reflective. Hi, you can see me in it. It's really, really shiny. And honestly, it does kind of annoy me that there is that slit down the middle, but that is purely so that you can actually open it up. Access the figures and like kind of put them in, you just slide open these doors, and from my experience they couldn't really come out too easily. Like, it's not like they're gonna just slide off the ends and things like that. Like, there is a stopper in it and it does get kind of caught and stuck. Even when I was like hanging this off my desk, nothing fell off or fell out, which was really good. Now the knockoff Lego plates, they did feel a bit weird. Of course, it's not as good as regular Lego, and honestly you could swap these out with regular Lego plates if you really did want to, but for me, I prefer making my minifigure frames. This is just a temporary solution and one that I can easily open to access figures, honestly, which is a pretty good thing. As something I realized with my Star Wars frame in particular is the metal things that fold down to keep the back on properly are kind of getting loose, and I feel like they could snap off, and I would say I maybe open that like once every 3 weeks or so to get a figure out or put a figure in or something like that. Maybe a bit less than that, honestly, but that's something I thought I would mention. And those frames are just from IKEA. Admittedly, they do not make that rubber frame in Australia anymore. They have come up with a replacement, but that is something good about this. It also does have pre-drilled holes at the top. There are 2 on that top shelf and 2 on the bottom shelf, so that you can hang it up if you'd want to. And the holes, if you look closely, sit right next to Ahsoka and right next to Obi-Wan. That is where they are, and for me, not really good. Walls are quite thin. I can't really put too many shelves up because it is just plaster. There is little to no wood in the wall, so it's really hard for me to hang stuff like that up. So ideally, one hook is better, and that's why I kind of do lean towards those minifigure frames, and is another reason I haven't put my Disney minifigures up. The Harry Potter ones are lucky because they can just rest against the wall and the shelf, and kind of the way they're balanced is kind of what keeps them up. It's not attached or anything besides blue tack, so it's really weak. Now, yes, this is knockoff Lego. Yes, this is probably not the ideal way to store your minifigures, at least for me and my preferences, but honestly, this comes really, really close, and I don't regret buying this thing at all. I think it's an excellent display piece, and you could stack a few of these on top of each other as well, and the fact that you can hang it up onto the wall is really good, although you would see the screws through it, unfortunately. So if doing that, I would definitely put black screws in, and I'm surprised at the amount of minifigures you can fit in there. The best method I found was to do 3 per base plate, because if you look closely, the base plates are divided up. It's not just one continuous thing. So it was kind of hard to fit minifigures in there, but the best way I found was leaving 1 stud on the side and then 3 in between each figure, and that kind of made it look very even. If you put them 2 next to each other, like I do in my minifigure frames, it would just look really awkward when you do get to these gaps here. Now these things are also 6 studs deep, so you can push figures back further if you wanted to and have their accessories a bit more in front of their face. For example, I found with General Grievous and the Joker in particular on the bottom, their weapons kind of did get in the way. But for the most part, everyone else was really easy to put in, and the droids as well, I just stuck in between 2 and 2, so it was really easy for that too. So if you don't have a lot of money and are looking for a minifigure solution and you live in Australia, I would definitely recommend something like this. I imagine there must be very similar versions by places like Target and Walmart in America, but once again, I have no idea. But in Australia, I know Target does knockoff base plates and things like that. I don't think they do storage systems quite like Kmart does with this, but I would highly recommend this, or at least trying it out if you do have a lot of figures and want a way to store them. Yes, of course. Personally, I still prefer my frames, but I don't regret purchasing this at all, and I think it's a really good thing for me to kind of test out and put on display, although I don't have really anywhere to put it. I might put it on the shelf above my desk as it is that perfect width to go up there, but besides that, I don't actually know where I would store this. It was more of just a way for me to get my figures out of the containers and actually see which ones I have. Would I buy more of these? I kind of debated it yesterday, but thinking about it again today, honestly, I don't think so. As much as I love this thing, just like I said, I do prefer my frame, so I think that is what I will kind of stick towards from now on, even though it does take a bit more effort. Overall, I'm pretty sure it is still cheaper though, even though you are using authentic Lego. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below about using things like that, like knockoff things to display your minifigures, and how you like to display them. Do you just leave them in a container? Do you like to put them on display? Do you leave them with their sets, etc.? And if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel down below. And until next time, guys, I'll see you later.